The table is set and we are good to go. Welcome to another episode of Podcast for Your Life.
Let's dig in.
Let's dig in to this delicious topic.
For some reason, the table set just made me think, like, wow, we're gonna eat a big old meal.
Yeah, we're going to eat a big old meal of thoughts for your life. And today's thoughts are going to be about pet names.
Pet names. What do we mean by pet names?
Yeah, well, I guess you can go either way. When you first told me about this topic, Jam, I thought you meant like your dog Huxley. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's talk about Skip and Butch and stuff. But it sounds like you're talking about another pet name.
Yeah, so the pet names, like what people call their girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, whatever, partner. And I don't know of another phrase or label to give it. The only one I've ever heard is pet names, even though it's for humans.
Nice. I wonder where the why they use the word pet. It almost sounds demeaning just right off the bat, like like your significant other is like your like special
Your
animal
pet. Yeah, I know.
that comes along with you. I wonder if that.
Yeah. The only other context is used to refer to a human is the teacher's pet. And so it's still not good. Like, okay,
Yeah.
if it's a pet name and I'm the teacher, like, what does that mean? I don't know.
Nope. Yep. It's all you lose either way.
So right off the bat, I want to sort of on record take issue with the fact that we don't have another word to use other than pet name. Like, if we just had something like some other word that we had included in our language at some point that meant the same thing, would have been great.
Maybe there is another word for it, but I think, and we've talked about nicknames in the past, but I don't think this is nicknames. It's like,
No, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's not nicknames. It's weird because it's temporary names, familiarity kind of names.
And they're commonly used too. Like
Yeah.
a lot of them are like other people use that one too.
Yeah. But they are kind of weird because think about it, like you're Jason, I'm Jam. Our names aren't especially long. So the idea of needing something that substitutes that just as like in sort of a loving way or whatever is a little strange. Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that at all, but the fact that it's such a commonplace thing to do, I think the reason isn't for shortness, because many pet names aren't shorter than the person's actual name.
Sure.
I think the function really is to show affection in some way.
Yeah. Yeah. Or to like, no one else calls me that. Like, I think there was, I think I had a friend once who, like, we would jokingly called her a name or him a name or whatever, and he's like, oh, you guys can't use that, that's awkward, only my family calls me that or something.
It was like their pet name for him?
I guess. Yeah. So I think pet names can be for your like special someone, but I think they can also be for family. Like, I think family members have pet names and they're not just nicknames. Like, I knew this family who they had names for each kid, and only the parents could call them that. Like, it wasn't a name that anybody could use. Like, they couldn't call them like whatever. So I don't know. It's interesting how these names work, and I don't know where they originated. So
But that would apply too. So like, we're talking not just romantic, someone who you're romantically involved with, but like just someone you love in general. So it could be a family member.
Yeah.
But it's that level of name that you would have for someone, and not really a nickname.
Yeah.
To make that line of distinction between nicknames and pet names more clear, I think it's like, so think of the standard ones like babe or honey, words like that who knows how many people use, but people use them between each other,
Sure,
in specific ways, in kind of a like unspoken understanding that I know that you're referring to me.
Yeah, like babe and honey are gender neutral, so
Yeah.
it's fun. It's great. Very appropriate for 2019. I guess.
But it's weird because it's not like why don't we just use really applicable words like human? Like why is that not a pet name? Like that's gender neutral as well, but it's also very, very accurate. It's not slang.
Hey, human, get over here.
Yeah.
Give me a kiss.
I do think that tons of pet names are really weird.
Really? Like which ones?
Well, okay, so right off the top, let's name a couple. Like Babe and Honey are really well known. Then Baby, so like, the full version of Babe. Then there's like Baby Doll and Baby Girl and Boo.
What context are you specifically feeling awkwardness about, like Baby Girl?
Well,
Like when a husband says that to his wife,
yeah.
or a guy says that to his girlfriend or whatever.
Yep.
I think I'd be on board with that. It feels a little weird. It feels a little demeaning.
Yeah. I think a good amount of pet names are kind of demeaning. If they're not like outright demeaning, they're sometimes just oriented towards someone's like physical appearance in some way. So some of them seem to just allude to like, hey, beautiful, or hey, hot stuff, or whatever. But those, I think, either they're kind of demeaning, like baby girl, like calling your spouse that. I'm just like, your spouse is not a baby. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of very clear to me.
I've heard some people call their like daughter, like their young daughter, baby girl.
Yeah.
And even like as they get older, like I've seen dads call their, oh, my baby girl, like
Yeah.
for as long as they're alive, they can call them that. And I feel like that's okay because it's like at one time she was your baby girl or my baby boy, I feel like at one time.
But there is a hierarchical difference.
Yeah,
one of them is a parent, one of them is the child. So like there's still that difference no matter how old either person is.
Sure.
So, but to call your spouse that,
or your girlfriend or whatever.
your girlfriend is very, to me, pretty like demeaning.
And interesting.
And I guess it's like in the eyes of the beholder. So like whoever's being called that, if they love it and they're fine with it, great.
Right.
But like there's that, and then by proxy, babe and baby, those are more commonly used without it feeling weird to the person saying it. But it's obviously like a shortened version of like the word baby, which is a newly born human. And so I've never fully got like the use of them and why they're around. Like I just can't say it and it feel normal to me.
Sure. And if you don't mean like baby or baby girl by saying babe, you could be implying that they're a pig.
Yeah.
And that I think is also somewhat demeaning. No offense to pigs, but yeah, let's just, it's something to think about. So you guys will have to just let us know, what do you think about pet names? Like, do you know someone who's called that, or are you called that? Is that one that's been used for you? And if you have like a different thoughts than Jam, then definitely let us know, because we'd love to hear it. Like, this is something we're just kind of like, oh, that's really interesting, versus like, oh, we think that's terrible, everyone needs to change their name. It's more of like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too, one thing that like is a separate issue a little bit is just the fact that so many of them are really oriented towards someone's physical appearance. So like the word babe, people also say it like,
what a babe.
Yeah, that person's such a babe or whatever.
I've heard that.
And so there's a clear like distinction of like, oh, that person must be very physically attractive. And so the idea that like some of the pet names we'd come up with would have to do with just our appearance instead of like, what if I was like, to my wife, I was like, hey, smarty pants. Like, wouldn't that be better? Like, it's like, oh, I'm also complimenting her like intellect. Like,
I don't know if smarty pants is generally used in good connotation.
But what about instead of like hot stuff, it's like smart stuff. Like, hey,
sure.
Smart stuff.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she is smarter than you, so
yeah, absolutely.
That would be, pretty. Yeah, of course. It's like a duh moment.
So
yeah, I think it's just like things that maybe most people don't think of, or maybe everyone thinks of. They just haven't admitted it yet.
Are there some pet names I haven't thought of? Oh, it's like Sweetie and Honey. We already said Honey. Sweetie is one.
Hubby.
Yeah. Yeah, Wifey. That's a pet name, right?
I don't get the Honey one. I think that Honey is great, and I'm not really sure where it came from. Maybe it's like, oh, you're so sweet, you're like Honey. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to call you Honey from now on.
Yeah, surely. Maybe. And then Sweetie's the same way. But sometimes people use Sweetie to like talk to a little kid.
Sure.
So then again, it's a.
Well, they use Honey to talk to other people too. Like you're at the diner and the waitress is like 50 years old and calls you Honey, and you're like, I don't know you.
Yeah. You're like, do you know what you want yet, Honey?
I think that happens in a Star Wars movie once.
I think
Hun. I think episode 2.
Or Hun. Yeah. Attila the Hun.
Yeah, that's where that's where Honey came from. How could we be so silly? It's very
complimentary. I think he accomplished a lot, if I remember correctly.
Attila was a nice guy. He was just a generally nice guy.
Yeah.
So do you have any stories of pet names or anything like that?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I think I'm a little averse to pet names in a general sense is that there was some friends I had in high school, which is kind of some of the beginning stages of most people's experience with dating. So I was around them, and they were dating, and they decided to start using pet names with each other, which also in high school or any age, below college just sounds so forced because, I don't know, it just sounds like the thing that people would do just because they've heard it done. And so some friends of mine would call each other babe so much. It was the only one they decided on that they started using, that they pretty much didn't use their first names anymore with each other. Oh. And it was just, overhearing conversation between them was just so annoying. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's like just simple things like, hey, babe, will you hand me that? Or like, oh, babe, we've got to go to this restaurant after school. Or like, oh, babe, have you finished your whatever homework? And it was almost just like, are you guys just doing this just because you've heard people do this? Like, you can use each other's names, and it still means like you guys like each other.
Sure.
So it sounded like
no, I have to say,
it just sounded like people impersonating people who are really, really close and in love or whatever.
Interesting.
Like whenever kids play mom and dad and they pretend to cook meals in their little plastic kitchen.
That's what you thought.
It reminded me of that, and I was like, man, we are just little adults pretending to be adults until we actually are adults.
Yeah, and then we pretend to be adults.
Yeah.
Still.
So we would make fun of them, where we'd be like, I like say to my friends, "Hey, babe, would you?" And we knew it wasn't just the generic like making fun of pet names, but it was making fun of that couple specifically because it was so
That's funny.
Well known that they used it a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time I was at a friend's graduation, and he was like a couple years older than his younger sister. And he was like thanking his family, for helping him accomplish graduation and stuff from high school. And, he called, he was like, and so-and-so. And then he said her pet name or whatever. And then I was just like, oh, that's cute. They have such a close relationship. It's like, I don't think I had any pet names. I had nicknames for my siblings, but not any pet names. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
So it was interesting just to see that. And I was like, oh, I think it just like made everybody feel really mushy inside.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a bad thing.
But yeah, I do. I get that part though. Like, I've only ever dated one person and then now married to that person. So I have some pet names for M. And some of them are just silly, and I think there's a shared understanding that we're kind of being funny with them. And so one of the ones I use is Cutesy Buttons.
Oh.
Which is from Homestar Runner.
Nice.
And that one just sounds so overly over-the-top cutesy, and it's not short to say.
Well, that's kind of adorable.
And so I'll say that one, and then I'll sometimes say, and Jason's made fun of me for this, I'll sometimes call her Little One, because I'll joke about, like, which is another thing about pet names. It makes it sound like everyone's a child, And so I'll call M Little One sometimes, and we'll joke about, like, I'll be like, oh, my little tiny wifey, and act like she's just this precious little, like, tiny action figure.
Baby.
Yeah, like a little porcelain doll.
Oh, my God.
But that one's also a joke, and I'll just go on and on about how tiny and itty-bitty she is, as if that's, like, an appealing, like, thing. And so...
that's really interesting, Jim.
And so I'll call her Little One. But then I know it's going to be confusing when I have a kid, and that's actually what I'll probably...
Littler one.
Yeah, call our kid at some point.
The littlest one.
So that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Or, like, I think I'll say wifey sometimes, too. Sure. That's a common one. So we use those.
Yeah, we use just probably the standard ones. I have thought about, though, that I think sometimes because we use pet names a lot, probably just out of habit, even though they probably mean something I just don't know right now. But I think it sometimes makes, when they say your real name, it kind of makes you like, oh, what's going on? Or like, oh, she said my real name or whatever. So it's interesting how that works.
We've never felt comfortable saying babe to each other. So I've never said it, and Em has never said that to me, and it's just kind of weird. Like
really? I feel like I've heard.
We never really talked about it, but it just happened that way. It's not like we sat down and said, okay, what are the words that we're allowed to call each other? What can't we? So
you got a DTR, Jim. Pet names. You got to define that relationship.
Yeah. Pet names. They're for humans.
Whoa. It's deep. Well, that's all the thoughts I have. I don't know about you, Jam, but I'd say it's time to land this plane.
Yeah, I think we've figured it out. So
yeah, we figured it out. Thanks, guys, for listening, and definitely let us know your thoughts about pet names on our Facebook and your Twitter. And we'll see you soon.
And we'll see you next week. And don't forget, don't use any pet names. Bye.
See you later, baby.